Hello everyone, welcome back. Here we are with day 2 of reading about Mariana and seeing how she becomes a butterfly. What do you think we mean when we say Mariana becomes a butterfly? Do you think a person can become a butterfly? I'm not sure, but I think that sounds a little bit silly. But I gave a recap of our story in our daily video, so I'm just going to dive right in today. If you didn't watch the other video first, pause now, go watch that. Okay. We are starting in at chapter 3. And the title of our chapter is called Watching the Insects. I'm really sorry, my chair squeaks. Watching the insects. Again, I will read the page and then show you the pictures, except this one, you just saw it. Each day as I took care of my garden, I looked at which plants the insects visited. I drew pictures of the insects, kept track of how many I saw, and wrote down what they did. By watching the insects in my garden very carefully, I made some new discoveries. I've always spent so much time watching butterflies flutter around that I didn't realize butterflies in all different stages of life lived in my garden. Butterflies start their lives as tiny little eggs. I found some hiding underneath the leaves of one of my plants. They don't look much like the eggs we eat for breakfast. They look soft, like jelly. Out of an egg comes a larva. We call it a caterpillar. I watched a little caterpillar, crawl across a shiny green plant leaf. There's our little caterpillar. The caterpillar munches on leaves to grow fat and healthy. When it's ready, the caterpillar becomes... Do you remember what's next? Egg, larva, pupa. The pupa develops inside a tiny little sac called a chrysalis. Finally, it emerges as a colorful butterfly. As I watched the caterpillar inch across the leaf, chomping away, I wondered what color wings it would grow. I wonder if the insects in my garden ever watch me grow. As I get bigger each year, my legs and arms get longer, and sometimes I change the way I wear my hair. But I still look like Mariana. As butterflies go through metamorphosis, the changes in their bodies as they grow, they look very different in each stage of their lives. Here we have egg, larva, pupa, and adult or butterfly. A passion flower butterfly fluttered over and landed on the same bush where I was watching the caterpillar. I slowly crouched down next to the plant so I wouldn't scare the butterfly. Its body was glossy black with tiny fuzzy hairs covering its thin legs. The butterfly's beautiful wings were still. It's hard to imagine that those paper-thin wings let the butterfly move through the air almost like magic. It looked like a roly-poly caterpillar moving across the leaf. Was the caterpillar looking at the butterfly just like I was? I wondered if the caterpillar knew that someday it would have wings and fly too. The week passed. I saw insects visit my maguey flowers, my orchids, and my white plumeria flowers. Bees visited. Butterflies visited. Even some flies visited. But not one insect visited my ohalo plant. Chapter 4. A Natural System. When Tia Letty came to our house, I brought her out to the garden. I showed her the pictures in my garden journal. I'm impressed, Tia Letty said. You are a careful observer. I can tell by the details you put in your journal. Did you find any clues that might help you solve your plant puzzle? I didn't see any insects visit my new plant. Tia Letty said. Why do you suppose that's so? Why do you suppose that's so? Think on that. I'm not sure, I said, but it made me wonder what attracts the bees and butterflies to my other plants. I know the plants need insects to pollinate them, but why do the insects need plants? Tia Letty put on her teacher face. Let's see what you know to make some thoughtful guesses. I'll help you. Inside sunflowers is a sweet liquid called nectar. She picked a flower from one of my plants. Carefully, she pulled the petals away and let a few drops of liquid trickle out of the flower. Some insects eat nectar as food, Tia Letty explained. Can you see it inside this flower? I squinted. There it was, way down deep inside the petals. It's wrapped up like a little present in the flower, I said. So when insects visit my flowers, they're coming to eat? Tia Letty nodded. Pollination is an amazing natural system. All the parts work together. The insects visit the flowers so they can drink the nectar inside. By chance, they pick up pollen while they're eating at one flower, and then they bring it to the next flower when they stop to eat again. Pollination is important for the plants, and getting food is important for the insect. So the plants get pollinated, and then they can make seeds that make more plants and more pollen, I said. And the insects get fed so they can be healthy and do more pollinating. Exactly, Tia Letty said. I picked a small, delicate ohelo blossom and carefully pulled the petals away. A bit of sweet nectar trickled out. There's nectar in the ohelo flowers. Why won't the insects come to eat it? Well, imagine that you came over to my house for dinner, Tia Letty said. And on the table I laid out some food, but I put all the food in the very center of the table where you couldn't reach it. Do you think you would have a very good dinner? If I couldn't get to the food, I'd still be hungry. And do you think you would come back for dinner again? She said. No, I'd go to dinner at someone else's house, I said. Exactly, Tia Letty said. I think the same thing is happening to the insects with your new plant. That plant is from another place. Insects here on our island might not have the right mouth parts to reach into the ohelo flower to get the nectar. For them, it's like your new plant's nectar is out of reach at the center of the table. They'll visit other plants to get food, and if they don't visit your new plant, they don't help pollinate it, and it can't grow new berries. Thoughts were fluttering through my head. If there is an insect in Hawaii that pollinates my plant, maybe I could bring that insect here to help me. That's an interesting thought, Tia Letty said. I'm working on a project in my lab right now that might help you think a bit more about that idea. Tomorrow you can visit me at work to learn more about it. So we just learned a little bit about why Mariana's plant isn't getting pollinated. I want you to tell me a little bit more about it in your own words, and then talk to me about what you think is going to happen next. What do you think Tia Letty is going to tell Mariana about having new insects come and help pollinate her plant? Do you understand how insects help pollinate plants? Okay, think on those questions for tomorrow and answer them in your seesaw slide for today. See you tomorrow.